is what the initial issue was when Raven Johnson was drafted. Indiana Fever front office, this is a mess that you have created. You got all of these people, these South Carolina, everybody running around and saying Caitlin Clark should be benched for Raven Johnson.
Madness. South Carolina fans completely lost it, demanding Raven Johnson start over Caitlin Clark after a single preseason game. Somebody actually posted that the Fever belongs to Raven now, just like South Carolina belonged to her. Now it's turned into a whole circus with race being dragged back into the conversation. This is precisely what everyone predicted would happen when the Fever drafted Raven. The Indiana Fever front office manufactured this chaos, and now they're stuck dealing with the fallout.
Sounds ridiculous to you as it does to me, right? Just when we all we did was give her credit for playing a solid
preseason opener. A backup point guard delivers one solid preseason game with quality defense and 8 assists, and fans instantly demand she replace the player who shattered 62 records, revolutionized the league, and stands as the sole reason anyone pays attention to the Indiana Fever. Does that reveal everything about how social media manufactures completely insane narratives disconnected from any semblance of reality? Let me be crystal clear from the start. Raven Johnson delivered a quality preseason performance. She posted 6 points, 8 assists, lockdown defense, and demonstrated why the Fever selected her. I acknowledged her performance. I stated she looked impressive coming off the bench. I confirmed there's a legitimate role for her on this roster. She performed well. Nobody's disputing that.
To say about Raven Johnson, and I'm going to reiterate that. I thought she played a hell of a preseason opener. Okay, she handled pressure well. She was a defensive menace out there. She played a pretty good preseason opener. Why are we talking about her starting over Caitlin Clark? Like Caitlin Clark, Raven Johnson is not about to break 62 records as a...
But somehow, acknowledging Raven Johnson's solid preseason showing has morphed into South Carolina fans insisting she deserves to start over Caitlin Clark. That's where we need to slam the brakes and have a serious discussion about how utterly insane that suggestion truly is. Someone dropped on social media, Raven Johnson is a true point guard. She literally anticipates plays before they develop. I'm rewatching the game and I'm speechless. The Fever is her team, just like South Carolina was her team. Read that statement again. The Fever is her team. After one preseason game, not Caitlin Clark's team, the player who transformed this franchise from irrelevant to America's team. Not Aliyah Boston's team, the former #1 pick earning $6 million. Not Kelsey Mitchell's team, the veteran who's been there 9 years. Raven Johnson's team, after one preseason game where she came off the bench. The delusion is staggering. The worst part is this person isn't isolated. There's an entire group of South Carolina fans making identical arguments that Raven deserves to start, that she's the genuine point guard, that Caitlin should come off the bench or shift to shooting guard. It's manufacturing precisely the toxic atmosphere everyone predicted when the Fever drafted Raven initially.
A lot of people are confusing the fact that Caitlin Clark had an off shooting night for Caitlin Clark having an off night. Now, Caitlin Clark definitely had an off shooting night. She did go 1 for 5, but that did not mean that she did not have a positive impact on the game. She came out there, she went out, started pushing that pace. They were fast. It was almost as if they were making a statement like, hey, we may be the smaller team, but we have a plan. And yes, the Liberty did start guarding her at 94 feet. That is full court pressure, but that only opened up Kelsey Mitchell and Sophie Cunningham, who definitely ate from that. Sophie Cunningham's stats were wild. Her shot was on, and she was hitting 3 after 3, as was Kelsey Mitchell.
Down by 3. Look at the tie-in.
And the Liberty are a team that do really scout Caitlin very well. She had way less turnovers than she normally does. Granted, she also had way less minutes than she normally plays. She played for 17 minutes, but in those 17 minutes, she had 0, count them, 0 turnovers. How's that for not being a turnover Tammy, huh? Anybody who doesn't know what turnover Tammy is, that is the name that a lot of the ops have given Caitlin Clark. But whatever, I digress. But with that full court pressure, Caitlin was drawing all that gravity and kicking out, sometimes hockey assisting, enabling Sophie Cunningham to go 5 for 8 and Kelsey Mitchell to go 7 for 12, both of them being able to shoot at a very high clip at the 3. I did find a comment on Twitter by Point Made Joshua who notes that you can always weaponize Caitlin Clark's gravity to get defenses off balance, and here Mo Billings takes the DHO and attacks the open lane. But to be guarded full court press in a preseason game says something. And it also says that in season, there are definitely going to be moments where Caitlin does need to rest from all that defensive pressure. And I truly can't wait to see what Ty can do on the court. But just having seen what Raven can do, this does put me at ease as far as Caitlin being guarded like that, and especially in a preseason game.
Let me remind everyone of certain facts. Caitlin Clark shattered 62 records in the WNBA. She revolutionized the league's popularity. She sold out arenas everywhere she appeared. She generated more revenue in one season than the previous decade combined. She's the reason the Fever have all 44 games on national television. She's the reason networks are paying massive money for WNBA rights. She's the reason casual fans started watching women's basketball. Raven Johnson played one quality preseason game. Those two realities aren't equivalent. They're not even in the same stratosphere. Suggesting Raven should start over. Caitlin resembles suggesting a backup dancer should replace Beyoncé as the headliner because they executed the choreography perfectly in rehearsal. It's absurd on its face. But here's what makes this entire situation even worse. It's dragging race back into the conversation. That's the most frustrating aspect. Because now, if you defend Caitlin Clark, if you state the obvious truth that she's superior to Raven Johnson, some people will accuse you of racism. They'll claim you're only supporting Caitlin because she's white. That if you genuinely cared about the team, you'd support Raven. That's manipulation. That's weaponizing race to silence legitimate basketball discussions. It's precisely what people worried about when the Fever drafted Raven. Look at the comments under that post. Angry Fan Sports, who's been supporting the Fever all season, had to intervene and say, "Girl, shut up." It's people like you on social media that want to make people like RJ stay off social media. Let the girl live her dream and stop making it against her team and telling lies. That's a fan defending Raven Johnson by telling her own supporters to stop being ridiculous. That's how crazy this has become. The people who actually want Raven to succeed are the ones saying, "Stop with the absurd takes about her starting over Caitlin Clark because you're manufacturing a hostile environment." Ken Swift commented, "She played great, but even Raven doesn't think it's her team. Maybe actually listen to what she says if you're such a fan. She's going to be awesome though." That's the correct take. Raven played well, she's going to be a valuable piece. She can contribute, but she's not Caitlin Clark, and pretending otherwise doesn't help Raven. It just creates unrealistic expectations and sets her up for criticism when she doesn't meet them. Here's the thing that makes this so frustrating. Fever fans have been overwhelmingly kind to Raven Johnson. Most people who were initially upset about the draft pick said, "You know what? She played well, I'm going to support her because she's on the team now." That's growth. That's maturity. That's being a quality fan. Compare that to how Caitlin Clark was treated when she entered the league. She received death threats. She got called every name imaginable. Other players publicly disrespected her. Fans of other teams trashed her constantly. Now those same people are demanding everyone treat Raven with kid gloves while simultaneously suggesting she should replace Caitlin. The hypocrisy is stunning. This is where the Indiana Fever front office needs to accept responsibility. Everyone saw this coming. Everyone stated, if you draft Raven Johnson, you're bringing South Carolina's fan base and all their baggage with you. The front office did it anyway. Amber Cox, the GM who made this selection, should have had the foresight to understand what she was taking on. Did she genuinely not anticipate that South Carolina fans would immediately start comparing Raven to Caitlin? That they would make everything about their preferred player? That it would create division and controversy? Even Aaliyah Boston, who played at South Carolina and won a championship there, gets labeled as not black enough by some people because she's good friends with Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah deals with that criticism. The Fever front office watched that happen and still decided to draft another South Carolina player, knowing the same dynamics would play out. This could have been avoided. The Fever could have drafted for size. They could have drafted a wing player. They could have added depth at a position of actual need. Instead, they drafted a point guard when they already have the best point guard in women's basketball. Now they're dealing with the predictable consequences. Someone in the comments expressed it perfectly. Chill. The Fever have their big three and fans have treated Raven with overwhelming kindness since she's arrived. No need to be disrespectful to folks who have been giving Raven a much kinder welcome than y'all gave Caitlin. That's facts. Fever fans welcomed Raven. They gave her credit when she played well. They supported her. In return, her supporters are demanding she replace the franchise player. That's not fair to anyone involved, including Raven herself. Let me make something crystal clear. Raven Johnson has never been a superior basketball player to Caitlin Clark. Not in college, not now, not ever. She will never be as talented as Caitlin Clark. That's not hate. That's not racism. That's simply reality. Caitlin is a generational talent. Raven is a solid role player. Those are different categories of player. Here's the thing. That's perfectly fine. Raven doesn't need to be Caitlin Clark. The Fever don't need her to be Caitlin Clark. They need her to be Raven Johnson, a defensive-minded backup point guard who can handle the ball, make simple plays, and give Caitlin occasional rest. That's a valuable role. That's something worth celebrating. But when fans start claiming she should start over Caitlin, they're setting her up for failure, because that's never going to happen. Stephanie White is not benching Caitlin Clark. The front office is not making that decision. It's not even a conversation worth having. Now let's discuss the actual basketball from the preseason game. Caitlin Clark shot 2 for 10 from the field and 1 for 5 from 3. Those are rough percentages. You know what Stephanie White said about it? She wasn't worried whatsoever. White stated, "She was good, you know? I think we played differently when she's on the floor. So learning how to play with her in action, I thought she was good. I thought she didn't force anything. She played with great intention in everything that she did and was in the flow. She was communicating at a high level. That's a coach who understands what matters. Stats don't matter in preseason. What matters is that Caitlin looked healthy. She was aggressive. She was making the correct plays. She was communicating. The shots weren't falling, but the process was right. For someone playing her first game in 9 months, that's all you can ask for. White knows Caitlin is going to be fine. The shooting percentages will come. The rhythm will return. By the time the regular season starts, Caitlin will be clicking on all cylinders. This is not a concern. This is not an excuse to bench her or reduce her role. This is normal rust from a player who missed most of last season. But the fact that some people saw Caitlin's rough shooting night and Raven's good game and thought, yeah, Raven should start, reveals everything about their basketball knowledge or lack thereof. Quality players have bad shooting nights. That doesn't mean you bench them. Michael Jordan had bad shooting nights. LeBron James has bad shooting nights. Steph Curry has bad shooting nights. You know what coaches don't do in those situations? They don't bench their superstars for backup players who had one quality game. The entire premise is ridiculous. The fact that it needs explaining is embarrassing. Here's what's really happening. South Carolina fans are still bitter that Caitlin Clark destroyed their team in the Final Four. They're still upset that Caitlin is more popular than any South Carolina player ever was. They're still mad that the narrative around women's college basketball became about Caitlin instead of their program. Now that Raven is on the same team as Caitlin, they see an opportunity to push their preferred player and diminish Caitlin. That's what this is genuinely about. It's not about basketball. It's not about what's best for the Fever. It's about resentment and tribalism and wanting their player elevated at Caitlin's expense. The Indiana Fever front office walked right into it by drafting Raven. They created this circus. They brought this controversy to Indianapolis. Now they have to manage it. The solution is simple. Stephanie White needs to make it crystal clear that Caitlin Clark is the starting point guard, and that's not up for debate. She needs to define Raven's role as a backup, who provides defensive intensity and ball handling when Caitlin needs rest. She needs to shut down any narrative suggesting there's a competition for the starting job. Because there isn't. There never was. There never will be. Raven Johnson is a quality player who can contribute to a championship team, but she's not Caitlin Clark. She's not close to being Caitlin Clark, and suggesting otherwise is doing a disservice to everyone involved. Raven, Caitlin, the team and the fans. The Fever have a chance to win a championship this year. They have the talent, they have the depth, they have the best player in the league. But if they let social media narratives and fan tribalism create division and controversy, they'll sabotage themselves before the season even starts. Amber Cox and the front office need to address this. They need to set expectations. They need to make it clear what Raven's role is and isn't. They need to protect both players from the toxic environment being created by fans who care more about their preferred player than about the team's success. This is exactly what everyone warned would happen. Now it's happening. The question is whether the Fever will manage it properly or whether they'll let it spiral into a season-long distraction. South Carolina fans are demanding Raven Johnson start over Caitlin Clark after one preseason game where she played well off the bench. This is the exact toxic environment everyone predicted when the Fever drafted Raven. The front office created this mess by not anticipating how South Carolina's fan base would react. Raven played well and deserves credit, but she's not replacing the player who broke 62 records. Hit like and subscribe for reality checks.